Okay, I can't tell you how many times throughout this race so far, the primary race in 2020, we've said that it is a long time until anyone actually votes. And although we pay attention to the polls, we care about the polls here, nobody knows how this thing is going to go. But that might not be the impression you get if you're watching TV now, because I have seen the beginnings of what looks like an attempt to sort of give a sense of inevitability to this thing, to imply that we know more about how it's gonna go than we actually do. This is coming from CBS News, not CNN or MSNBC, oddly. And I wanna show you a couple of clips to give you an idea of what might become a trend. At least that's what I fear. Here's the first.
There is big news in our CBS News Battleground Tracker. That's our survey of the Democratic candidates and how they're doing in the early contest. There are 18 states in our aggregate, starting with the Iowa caucus up through Super Tuesday. And there is a big reshuffling in the top tier. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren is now at 26% support, just ahead of former Vice President Joe Biden at 25%. The third candidate in our top tier is Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. He has 19% support.
Okay, now what you just saw, that's not the most egregious thing. We're gonna have one more clip that's worse, but I want to explain that because what you saw there is not a poll. It is an aggregation of polls to create an idea of, over the course of months of elections, through which many things will change, there'll be debates, all of that stuff, we have an idea of the overall result that will happen. And so in all of these early, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, all of these, Warren's at 26 now, and Biden's at 25.
And it's not even how those states work. So they're aggregating all different states with all different counting processes, caucuses, primaries. So the methodology is shoddy to say the least, and it's just to create this entire horse race dynamic where they're getting viewers engaged on who's winning, who's up, who's down. She's up, it's NFL red zone, except for freaking like the politics. So it's just really a reality show to a lot of these hosts. And that's what's annoying about the journalism there. Like, just spend your energy doing anything else, really anything else, and then you'll be good.
Yeah, and look, like I said, there are a lot of polls that are useful. I'm gonna have one for you that CBS News put out that I think is interesting, that we can learn something about. But this like attempt to take like a 4-month chunk of this thing and then say, we have a number that comes out of all of that. I mean, come on, like how serious are you actually being? But like I said, that's not the most egregious thing, because at least that is just a poll, right? Or it looks like the results of a poll. But they go farther than that. Take a look at this.
By the time you get through all of those states, Joe Biden is doing well enough. He's racking up a lot of delegates, a lot of votes in places like South Carolina, that he still has the overall delegate lead in that estimate when we take these vote preferences and we translate them into how the delegates would be awarded in the states.
So that's important still to actually clinching the nomination.
Yeah, by the time when you get to next summer and you're at the convention, the balloons drop. That's how the delegates are actually awarded to candidates.
So that's how many delegates they have in the estimate. There are no delegates. No delegates have voted. They're months and months and months away from voting. So all that is let's take the percentage we say they'll get and then map that to delegates and then put up a graphic that looks suspiciously like the old superdelegate projections from 2016.
Even with the superdelegates not being in the first round, the mainstream media is still trying to find a way to give Joe Biden, who was leading in that delegate count there, the inevitable delegate victory, or make it seem like Bernie Sanders' delegate lead is insurmountable, when we all know that how Iowa allocates its delegates, how New Hampshire does it, how Nevada does it, how South Carolina does it. It's all different and it's all fluid. This is not static, it's changing all of the time. And it is comical to put that on the screen and say that it's any kind of journalism here, because it's just rampant speculation. And if you wanna say, oh, this is my prediction, like if you wanna pull a Jank and do a prediction on TV, that's fine, say it's a prediction, but they're acting as if it's some sort of empirical data and it's like this Nate Silver crunching of the numbers, when it's actually just throwing a dart at a wall with a blindfold on.
Yeah, it's less Nate Silver crunching the numbers and more Nate Silver tweeting whatever the hell he wants on Twitter. Like, you know what, I have this number and sure, it looks like Bernie's doing okay, but don't like him, he's gonna lose. That's what it feels like. And like if you're in an airport or a gym and you see that graphic flashed up on the screen that shows, oh my God, Biden's got 600 delegates already? The election's still months and months away, he's leading. No, he's not. They use the word estimate again, like you said, as if it's empirical. It's not. This is just guesswork, which you can present it as that, but it's not what you're saying. And it's even worse in their writing because look at the way they describe this. This is from CBS News. The former vice president now clings to a narrow lead over Warren in our CBS News YouGov Tracker estimate of convention delegates, the only count that ultimately matters. This is what matters. He has an estimated 600 to her 545. She's gained delegate share as supporters of other lower tier candidates have been switching their preferences towards her. No. She's been gaining in the polls as that's been happening. There's no delegate share. That's not a thing. It isn't anything. It is just a thing that makes it seem as if we know more than we do. And look, I like pretending to have knowledge I don't, but you need to be responsible when you're on TV.
And you know how the delegates shift? Because the polls are reflective of the votes, which then the delegates reflect later. So it doesn't make any sense to be estimating delegates after the polling. Polling is fine. I already think that we put too much stock in the polling and there's too much on CNN, CBS, all the mainstream media like, ooh, look who's up, who's down. But going a step further, it's irresponsible.
Yeah, it's incredibly irresponsible. I'm gonna jump one graphic ahead. I wanna show you a graphic. Again, imagine you're really busy, you flip on the TV and you see this graphic. So that looks like, oh my God, my state already voted. California's done and Biden is rocking this thing. Like, man, Klobuchar might as well drop out. You've only got 13 delegates. No, she should drop out, but not for that reason.
Yeah.
And look, the word estimate is technically there, but if you saw that, you'd think, oh, like half the states have already voted. This thing is locked down. And I don't know if in a couple of months, they're gonna start reporting superdelegate estimates as well. They might still do that, even though the superdelegates are not voting in the first round, and the superdelegates have literally never actually, in the way that they're intended to, influence the system. Only by projection have they done that. That should not happen this time. It might still happen, but even if it doesn't, if this sort of thing spreads, if suddenly MSNBC and CNN are like, oh, we can just do these estimates and it looks like we know what we're talking about, then what's the difference if we got rid of the superdelegates? If this gives this false sense of inevitability, like by the time all of those states will have voted, we will have polls change as a result of earlier votes. We'll have polls change as a result of the 13 to 17 debates that are gonna happen between now and then. How can you possibly imply that we know what's gonna happen on Super Tuesday when Iowa hasn't even voted yet? But there is something to be said for polls. And that's why like you can report on polls. I like polls. I used to work on polls actually. So look, if you wanna show this poll for instance, here is an interesting thing showing month by month, one thing. What do people think about Elizabeth Warren in a race against Trump? Can she win? The electability argument. And you can see that from June to now, it's gone up. You can look at that and learn something. That is not odd and irrational and arrogant to show that. But when you try to imply, oh, and so because she's at 55% now, I'm gonna give her X number of, what are you talking about?
No, it's a data point. These are all data points, but if that's not profitable, you have to make it seem like it's bigger than it is. You have to differentiate yourself. These giant mega corporation journalistic organizations think that from this news organization, we have some secret knowledge. We have, what's the scroll, I don't know why I'm trying to make
Harry Potter? I don't know. It's the Philosopher's Stone is what you're talking about.
Right, I think so too. The Sorcerer's Stone, please, we're American, by God.
That's what I read.
Yeah, so no, I completely agree with you wholeheartedly. And the fact that we're pretending like there's any credence to this is absurd.
Thank you for watching this clip from the Damage Report. For more content from the show and access to TYT Network members-only exclusives, go to tyt.com/Brooke. Wait, no, it's tyt.com/John. Go to tyt.com/John to sign up.